Welcome to the online registration rollout and kickoff for the Cornerstone Council. We're going to go ahead and get started. We'll get started with the first thing you need to do to get started, which is have a good presence on viascout.org and get ready to go. So to get us started there, we're going to have Will Cover take us through that process.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Let's see. Before the system goes live, there are some things that a unit needs to verify are correct so that the system allows access and sends unit leaders in the right notifications. Okay. So as you can see here up on the screen right now, online registration administration tools for units are accessed through your my.scouting.org account. If you don't currently have an account, you will need to create one to use online registration. If you do have an account, make sure that your email address and the rest of your profile is current so that you get notifications and information that you need to use the new tools. Okay, so what you see here is a screenshot showing kind of the sign in page for my.scouting.org. You'll put in your username, password, hit sign in. Tools contained in my.scouting are role-based. Therefore, your unit needs to have the unit key 3 correctly registered so that they can take action in the system. So if you change committee chairs or your top leader, you need to get that information to the council as soon as possible, i.e. don't wait for the end of the year with recharter in order to update that information, okay? Doing this will make things so that they can be registered correctly, which will enable access to these tools. You should do this before the go live date for online registration. Page 4 of the online registration unit guidebook walks you through the steps to update your my.scouting account, and I'm going to go through those with you right now. We go. Once logged in, you'll click Main Menu, Legacy Web Tools. Okay, so you start up here at the top, you'll get that menu. Click on that. You'll find My Recent Tools, Legacy Web Tools. The drop-down menu will come, and you'll see Be a Scout. Okay, you'll click on that. Okay, you'll see the same 3 tabs you've always seen: Unit Pin Management, Unit Lead Management, and Membership Application Management. Okay, what we're going to focus on here right now is Unit Pin Management. Okay, this tab is used to enter the information prospective scouting family sees when they select your unit's pin on the map. This is where we will verify that the latest, most up-to-date information about your unit is entered to ensure that the successful generation of leads. Okay, has everybody in the room ever seen this page before? Okay, so this is going to be an important first step for you, is making sure, right, that under unit pin management, you have something that comes up like this. Okay, so we'll go through this one step at a time to make sure that all this information is put in. Okay, and then basically you hit make active the pin status, and that will activate all this information to unit control as opposed to being sent to the council. Okay, and this way you'll be able to receive any Be a Scout leads that come to you. If you're not familiar with what this does, right, on the Be a Scout site, an individual is able to type in their zip code, right, and whether they're interested in Cub Scouting, Boy Scouting, venturing, or exploring, right? It brings up then a listing of all of the units in a certain mile radius of that zip code and allows them to click on those pins, which will identify the unit, their charter organization, and contact information if they're interested in becoming a scout. Okay, so use the unit description drop-down to select your unit. Okay, so you'd click up there. We have selected, for the purpose of this demonstration, Pack 398, Trinity United Methodist, right? But if you are one of the key 3 of your unit, okay, and have access to this, then it should show any units that you would have access to. So for example, I happen to be the charter organization representative for both PAC and Troop 220 in Weeping Water, because I'm the Legion Post Commander, okay? And I also happen to be a registered den leader for our after-school CLC in Nebraska City. So when I bring up this page, what I'm able to see are those 3 units. I can select the one that I wish to alter that information on. Okay? Under PIN status, okay, make sure that your PIN status is set to active. Okay? This will cause the PIN and unit information to be visible on the Via Scout map. The Request More Info button appears on all PINs by default. Okay? Setting your PIN status to inactive removes the PIN information for the Via Scout map, which means people looking to join scouting won't be able to find you using this function. Okay? Be aware that any leads entered before you are live with My Scouting Tools online registration will be captured and tracked in Via Scout, which you may still need to follow up with. Okay? After you're live with My Scouting Tools online registration, leads will be captured and fed into the invitation manager of My Scouting Tools. Again, this process will provide better tracking and the ability for a unit to quickly and easily send an invitation to apply to their unit. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay. Thank you. Moving right along. Okay. Now let's look at the apply status. Okay. Currently, if your apply status is set to active, the Apply Now button will appear on your PIN, allowing potential members to submit their application online. Okay. The application submitted through Via Scout prior to your council going live with online registration will continue to be managed and tracked within Via Scout. Okay. So if you have anyone who has hit this PIN prior to going live, send them an invitation to apply online. We'll still have to follow up a manual application with them. Okay, so this will only occur after we've went active with the apply status. Once you go live with My Scouting Tools online registration, applications entered using the Apply Now button will be captured and fed into the application manager of My Scouting Tools. Okay. Potential members will still be able to contact your unit using the information on your PIN, or they can use the Request More Information button to access and submit the form. No matter how the contact is made, the unit can either use the Invitation Manager in My Scouting Tools to send an application invitation, or manually send an invitation to the potential member with the unit's URL through an email or phone call. Okay? Remember, any leads and applications that were entered in the Via Scout prior to going live with My Scouting Tools online registration that have not been resolved will still need to be worked through Via Scout. So once you go live, you'll need to work with both your Via Scout and My Scouting Tools queues until leads in Via Scout are resolved. Any questions about that? Okay, fantastic. You can see up here on the upper lead, we've got unit lead management, membership application management. So those would be those functions that we'll be using later on. Okay. All right, next slide, showing primary contact information. Okay. There's other things. If you had a unit website, you can enter in that information there. Alternate unit description. Okay. So for example, with this CLC that I'm a part of, I've put there, CLC After School Club, Nebraska City. Right, so that they know that that's not a traditional unit, as opposed to what you would probably.
So where did you put that?
I put that under alternate unit description.
Oh, up there.
So that what they will see then is this alternate, as opposed to, in that case, it would show up as a Optimus Club in Nebraska City as the charter organization.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
For the purposes of that particular unit, it's more important for them to know that it's actually an after-school club program, not a traditional PAC.
Right.
Okay. And there'll be more information that you can put in under additional unit information later. Okay? For primary contact information, in Via Scout, the primary contact person refers to the person in the unit that has chosen to take the lead in managing all PIN information and requests. It's very important that this information be current because it is also the contact information that will be displayed on the PIN. Okay, so whoever you put there should be the person who's managing the pin, right? And who'll be answering any of the contact information. So if somebody clicks on that and says, I would love to join, pack 672, contact this person, okay? Primary contact person does not need to be one of the unit leaders, but must be a registered adult from your unit. Selecting the primary contact person's name from the drop-down will automatically populate their information from the PAS system. Okay, so there will be some drop-down options there of folks who are registered with that unit. Select the one that you want, which will automatically, so that you don't have to give out their phone or email information, it will send it to that contact person automatically.
Now, once this is done,
Mhm.
can anybody change it or only the primary contact person?
The person who is managing the site can change it, or your key 3 can change it.
So not anybody can go in there and change it?
Not anybody.
Okay.
That's right. Okay. All right. Let's see. Once you're live with My Scouting Tools online registration, the primary contact will still be the contact information that will be displayed on the pin. But My.Scouting Tools will send inquiry information to the unit key 3 in a daily summary, not the primary and alternate contacts. Okay. So do you know what I mean when I say unit key 3?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, it's kind of how everybody keeps up to date, knowing that somebody has applied for.
Yeah, and anytime somebody does that, not every day. Every day.
Well, that's what it says. Okay.
There may be a day.
In a daily summary. Okay, but that summary would only take place if there was new activity.
If
One
there's
would
no
hope.
activity. Yeah, okay.
One would hope.
That's fine. One would hope.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't need to, okay.
Okay. No, but it's a fair
More
question.
email.
It's a fair question.
More email.
If you find out that that's otherwise, let us know. And we'll
I would expect you to hear.
All right. So currently, the alternate contact information refers to a secondary person that the unit has designed to receive the emails and requests generated from the map pin on ViaScout. Contact information fields are mandatory in order to complete the form, but will not receive emails for online registration. Okay. As with your primary contact, the email on file in the contact's PAS record will auto-populate once the name is selected. Okay. And that's why it's important to make sure that the information that you have on file, okay, through my.scouting.org is the correct information, because that's uplinking with what we call the PAS system, which is what we use here at the office. We'll type in your name, and then it comes up with your scouting ID, the trainings that you have, all of that, and that email needs to be current there, or else it'll be sent off into other regions of cyberspace. So, let's see here. As with your primary contact, the email on file in the contact PAS record will auto-populate. If you need to edit an email address or phone number, you can do so from this screen. Be aware that editing the fields here will not update any of their records in PAS or ScoutNet. Okay, to update that information, you will need to update their profile information in my.scouting.org. Only then will it sync back to the PAS and auto-populate with the updated information. Okay. For now, use the drop-downs to select an alternate contact. Each of the contacts noted on the screen, primary and 2 alternates, must have different emails or you'll get an error and will not be able to save the record. Okay? So if you were ever creating profiles for folks and we're just auto-populating your email address into there, it won't take that. We're going to have to correct that information. I know that happens occasionally when registering Voice for Camp. You put the primary contact is the email of one person for everybody there. Okay? Although the PIN will only display the primary contact information for the parent to see, the unit's key 3 will receive an email whenever a lead is generated. Okay?
Whenever.
Whenever a lead is
Not
generated.
every day.
Not
Okay.
daily.
All right. Moving on. If there are no questions. Okay. So when this information is filled out, there will be 6 individuals who have access to the unit PIN management and unit lead management tabs in myscouting.org. Okay. The primary unit leader, be they Cub Master, Scoutmaster, or Crew Advisor. the unit committee chair, the charter organization representative. We'll come back to why that's going to be very important with online registration. One and alternate contact 2. Okay? So those will be your 6 individuals who will have access to this unit lead management. Okay?
Yes.
Can primary contact also be your scout leader?
Yes,
They could duplicate, right?
Okay,
yes.
so it might not be a full 6.
It may not be a full 6, though I would encourage you to have that kind of population if at all possible. Okay. Because my Scouting Tools online registration will now manage who emails are sent to. Once you are live with my Scouting Tools online registration, these fields will be grayed out. Okay. All right. After you have reviewed and updated all of the information, click Save. Okay. The confirmation window will pop up and let you know that the information was saved successfully. Okay. Any questions about populating your unit PIN? Okay. Very, very important. Get started. All right, I'm going to turn things back over to Rob.
Thanks, Phil. So the first step, of course, is that PIN. Nothing matters if you want to take online applications and you don't change your online application to status to active. If you leave that as inactive, then everything we do after this won't really work. So please make sure that you turn that to active if you're going to do that. Real quick, we're going to go through the unit configuration.
Quick question.
Can I ask one question?
Yep.
I tried to do this today to go into this, right? And this first screen is just frozen. I can't get it to do anything. And where am I going wrong?
Go through a whole bunch of that.
Oh,
So
all right.
hang
Okay.
on to your
I'll wait.
questions
Sure,
because there's a whole bunch of different steps we're going to go into first.
perfect. All right.
So keep in mind, to do any of this stuff, of course, you have to have a my.scouting.org
Right.
account.
Right.
You also need to make sure that your membership number is linked to that account. So if you're the Cub Master or committee chair, if your member number isn't under that, then the system doesn't recognize you as one of those key 3. So you won't even see these things. If you see them, that means it's linked and you have the registration number connected.
So how do you know that it is linked?
If you're seeing any
If
of
you're
this
seeing it,
stuff,
if you're not,
then it's there.
call.
Yes.
Okay.
So on my.scouting, one of the things you'll need to do is go down to your unit. You'll select your pack, troop, crew, whatever it is. And there's a section called Organization Manager to set up your unit's online registration unit configurations. So this will take you to a screen where you can select settings, see all the configuration options available to your unit. If the council's, we have not made the choice, you'll get to make choices on what kind of payment you want to take. So you can choose, we want only credit cards. We want it all to be online. We don't want to have to deal with checks and cash. That's up to you. We've left that decision. You can also choose to say, nope, we don't want anybody to pay online. We want to handle all the money ourselves, but we want the application. That's up for you guys to decide. But we've left that decision up into your hands. As you look through, if there's anything that's grayed out, that means we as a council have overridden that configuration. So one of those things on the configuration is accepting adult applications. As of right now, we do not plan to take online adult applications for the 2017 year. That is due to youth protection and trying to validate that people are getting youth protection. That part hasn't yet been integrated into this system. They will get an email if they do an online adult application, but they don't get, there's not a certification. So they may already be registered, even though their youth protection hasn't been achieved or taken. So we want to make sure that that happens. And we'll be looking and reassessing that as we go through. But as of right now, that's our plan.
I was told in the office that they're not accepting adult applications without the YPT certificate attached to it.
That's correct.
That's why we are not doing the adult.
Okay,
You'll go through, select the configurations that make sense to you in that organization manager. Then there's two other areas that will pop up. One, the first that we'll talk about is an invitation manager. And if you go to scouting.org/online registration, you'll be able to download a giant 45-page book that has screenshots and all the stuff that we're talking about. But the invitation manager is a tool where leads, so think of this as a sales force, where families who indicate they want more information about scouting through Be a Scout will come in to your unit as a contact. These are people who really want to get involved. They've gone online, now maybe they have selected several units, but they've selected your unit. The invitation manager can also help you manage leads that come through joining nights and through personal invitations to join. So if you run across somebody and they say, oh, we'd like to join scouting, you can add their information in manually through this process. And we'll talk about all that in a moment. First, we want to talk about who has access to this. The unit key 3, which is, again, the head of the charter organization, the unit membership chair. These can all have access to see and respond in this tool. But the unit key 3 of the unit can assign a functional role. So if you have a membership chair, you can go in and assign that role, again, under that organizational manager for your membership chair to be able to help you in this process. The key 3 of the unit are the ones who will automatically have that with no additional roles. If you need help assigning those roles, please call the office. We can help you assign specific roles into organizations. So the system is live, so you will see the area called Invitation Manager on the troop if you have the current access rights to see that. Again, that unit key 3. The Invitation Manager will open into a My Actions tab. The view you're seeing is something that's going to look very similar if you open it onto a tablet. If you have this open on your desktop, it might look a little bit different, but if you open this on a tablet, this is very similar to what you'll see. This shows all the requests for information on which you need to take action. You can look at the leads by status or by source. So did they come from Be a Scout, or were they manually entered? Maybe they called the scout office and they said, hey, we are looking for a pack at this church or at this school. We can manually enter that in, and that way everybody has that information right off the bat, as opposed to trying to send around emails and then maybe that kid gets lost. This will help us track those people. So as we go through, again, you see the My Status, the My Source. Up in the top right, you can also, of course, add those new leads. So this is where you would manually add a new lead if you had one that you wanted to share with other people in the unit. If you select the new lead screen will appear. You can select the source. So select where you got that lead from. You can also use this as joining nights. So there are some packs who in their joining night, they had a tablet or something here, and instead of a piece of paper, they were having them enter this into them on their joining nights, their school nights, which saved them because everything was typed correctly and they had the right information as opposed to trying to decipher sometimes handwriting. But the parents can, of course, use a tablet or a laptop to fill in their contact information. Of course, you need internet access to do that. But then, just like any web page, you need to ask them to select the Save button and then just add another so you can keep going. So at the very bottom, you see Save and Add Another to keep going through that and just keep adding the pages in. So once you've gone through there, you can then be able to. They have the information already started. If they apply online, one of the key three can go in and accept the youth applications that are submitted. But right now, again, we're just in that lead area. Once you have a lead, let's say we've got Barney Fife. He's the lead. You have a phone number and an email for Barney Fife, and you can send him an invitation. You can reassign the lead to the district. Here's the invitation link. And maybe after you've sent them an email, you get an email back and they say, you know what, we're moving from this town to this town. Is there a different pack over there? So that lead's no longer good for you, but it would be good for somebody else. So what you can do is that's where you would use you would use the reassign button, and then you can share that with the district, and they can then reassign them to a different unit. So that is kind of nice with some sharing. We don't have kids who maybe showed up at one school or one church and they're looking for another pack. You can help share them with them. And we'll talk that this comes up again with the application process. If you don't have internet access to the joining event, parents can still use their phones to fill out the online application. You'll just need to provide the units with a URL or QR code, or they can quite honestly go to beascout.org, and they just need to make sure to get the right pin. Some of you guys have pins that are real close to each other, so make sure they get the right pin. But each pack will have their own URL. As you can see in the top right, you have a short URL that you guys can use. Every unit, pack, troop, crew has one completely different. So that's one we can put on the school night flyers, or you could put on posters or whatever to say, hey, join my troop. Here's the website to do it at. And then they don't even have to mess around with trying to do a search on Be a Scout or any of those sort of things. And of course, that URL is also in the invitation emails. We don't want people to have to hunt and peck. Remember, when using a URL or QR code, again, it's specific to your unit. If you put it out on social media and someone from Kansas or Oklahoma see it and clicks on it, they start applying to your unit. They don't necessarily see that it's there. So you have to be very specific, letting you know this link is specifically for our unit, and keep it right there for them. And again, this is just a screenshot of the QR code and stuff that you can download if you're wanting. So that's the invitation manager. Again, it's just to manage leads as nothing. Hopefully you're moving people out of that and into the next step, which is the digital application. And some people may skip the invitation manager completely. They may have gotten the URL and they go straight to the application. Not going to have anything else to add. So they've gotten the URL, and again, they get to the online application. Like I said, there's 3 ways they got there. They got there from Be a Scout, which is the general web portal, the one we put on our website. We put on flyers that they can search by zip code. The other 2 ways are initiated by you as a unit. So either through a URL, which is attached to an email, or through the use of a QR code, which you can see on the far right. When a parent scans the QR code or opens the URL link, maybe it was emailed to them through the invitation manager, or they just typed it off the flyer, they can select new to scouting if the child's never been in scouting. If the child's been in scouting before and is returning after a lapse in membership, they can also go in using their member number and register through this system. So maybe they moved here from another city or state, and it's been a couple years, they want to rejoin. If they've got that information, they can again re-register through this system. So keep in mind, we're only talking about new people and people who have lapsed, okay? So you can go and check out, this was the invitation. Apparently I got some slides out of order here. Here's a copy of the invitation email that was sent to April Tester. So they've clicked on this application link, and that's taking them to the online application process. And sorry, like I said. So as we get into the key roles in the application manager, so people have gotten there, they filled out the online application paperwork. Now you're wondering, what do we do with it? The positions that can take action in this tool are governed by BSA bylaws and rules and regulations. Therefore, only the key 3 of the unit can take action in this tool. Cannot assign this to other people. You can give them others registration inquiry functions where they can view them, but they won't be able to take action since they're not allowed at their approved position. So they can't approve an application, but they can look and they can help manage that process and get contact information. The charter org representative is the only person who can accept an adult application. This is one of the reasons why we right now are not rolling out the adult application process. We want to make sure that we've got good accounts for many of our charter org reps. And we will talk about that briefly here in a minute. The committee chair will have the responsibility, if the unit elects to turn on the committee chair recommendation configuration application manager, then the committee chairman will have the responsibility to review the adult applications and assign the adult positions. In other words, if you don't click that, the committee chair unit will not need to do anything with the new online applications for adults. It will only be the charter org rep. And we will talk again what their role and their function is here in a couple minutes. But the CR will still need to accept the adult in the system, even if the committee chair assigns the position. So when an adult does this system, again, this is all, eventually we will get there, but when an adult does the system, they don't select what role they are going to be in their unit. You don't select, oh, I'm going to be a den leader, or I'm going to be this. The committee chair, if turned on, will assign that. Or when the charter org rep approves it, they're the ones who are going to say, person is going to be the next committee member. Keep in mind, this isn't for change of position. This is only for new adults. This isn't for change of position or a renewal or a transfer, only for new adults.
So those 2 positions are going to have to step up, and they're going to have to step up
That's right.
and be held accountable.
That's why we're
Or
doing
it's
it.
going to bog down.
Why the adult portion comes in 2018, not in
Okay.
2017.
Okay, so you said this is not for, like, people transferring from another pack?
Correct.
Not for those people?
This is not for transfers.
Okay.
They
Even though they have to fill out a new application?
right now, as of
when
right
they come
now, they will still have to fill out a paper application. Yes.
in. But yes, so they have to fill out a new application when they move here?
Yes.
And,
They'll still
But
have
they-
to do a paper.
okay,
This is only for new and lapsed. So in other words, they don't
Okay.
have a current registration.
Will it ever be used for transfers?
It will be eventually, but as of right now, it is not a feature. We've got to move over the rechartering system to the new system as well. So that's all coming. The unit leader has this primary responsibility for the youth applications. So that's that person's primary responsibility. Unit leader being, again, Cub Master, Scout Master, Crew Advisor, those roles.
So to refresh, for youth application, the unit leader, so Scoutmaster, Cubmaster,
Correct.
is primarily the one on tap. But if they have an attack of life, the committee chair or the charter org rep could also hit the approval or not, because it said shared on that screen.
They will have access to that.
Okay,
So they should be able to.
they went to Philmont or whatever.
Right. So again, this is just a quick screenshot. Again, you have to go to my.scouting to get to all this. You get to the online application manager, guess what? It's right next to, right in the same area where you found the invitation manager and all the other tools under your unit. So here's Troop 144, and they've got application manager. Again, this is why your key 3 will have to have a my.scouting account linked with their correct member ID number.
And a working email.
And working on it. Once they click on online applications, or application manager, sorry, it will take you to, it'll take you to, I don't get the right page, this page right here. the My Action tab in the application, so the part that's underlined My Action. On this dashboard, you'll see a summary of applications in progress by age. Remember that all applications will time out if you don't accept them within 30 days. So hopefully nobody's sitting there for more than 30 days waiting to get an application process.
What happens if it times out? Does it kick it out of the system and it's got to be reapplied?
The system will assume that your unit is no longer interested, and they will get kicked to the district to reassign them to a different unit.
Oh,
So,
so you don't want to see that.
I don't ever want to see that.
you know,
Which
and-
is why the question of that the other members, parts of the key three can hit accept.
I will tell you, it will eventually, my guess is that 30 days is going to get shorter. Because
Right.
you don't even wait 30 days unless you maybe filed your taxes today. You don't wait 30 days to file your taxes online before you even get like a refund check or, they want their money instantaneously, but you don't wait 30 days for anything that you do online. So we want to make sure that it's done very quickly. There is, as you can
And even if
see,
this was a paper application,
Yeah.
show me who's sitting on a youth application for 30 days, and I'm gonna go talk with them with a big stick.
And they do that though.
They do, yeah, and we find them years later.
Are they gonna be notified they were dropped by that?
yes, so
Okay.
they get information, but hopefully no one will ever get that information.
Yeah,
I
we
know.
don't want
But
that.
what if you just, I don't know.
Keep in mind, so
had a
next to
personal
each
distraction.
name, on the far right, you'll see a little
I may
clock,
keep this myself.
okay? That clock doesn't start over with each action you take in the system. So just
Oh,
because
one
one person
person
went in and made a note doesn't mean the application's done. It starts when it's created, and the clock, the 30-day ends when it's completely finished. And of course, then it's no longer in the queue because the kid is registered. So, but you can't go in and say, oh, I made a modification. The clock keeps running on that. You can see how many applications have come in over the last 30 days. It gives you some fancy graphs. So you can see how many come in. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the status of applications and where they're in. So you can see the applications that are in pending or acceptance. One of the biggest reasons, and really the only thing that should hold up a youth application, is maybe money. So maybe you selected to do cash and credit card, and somebody has completed their online application, and they click the button we'll talk about later that says pay in person. So they gave you a check at the school night. Well, we wait until we get the check here at the office, and once the youth is registered, then we receipt it, and then the youth it shows up as paid, or adult, if we were doing adult, shows up and paid, and the application will be submitted.
Question, I'm an LDS troop, so the church pays.
We
don't-
got,
That's
I'll talk to you
coming,
about that another way,
Okay.
yes. You'll do the same thing, you'll just make sure everybody hits pay in person, and then we
Okay.
receipt it in the office.
Okay.
Very, very, quite honestly, very simple for that. Okay. And again, these are screenshots, so you can see the in-process summaries. So hopefully, like this one, again, this is a demo. You don't have 11 kids that are sitting in the 25 to 30-day window for adults. And again, these might be adults. And maybe your unit is, as we go to adults, maybe your unit's waiting for a training or something before they approve it. So they're sitting in that pending file. I know every single TAC would love to know that in the last 30 days, they had 69 new applicants. Wouldn't that be fabulous? And then again, there's just a quick graph. So if you're kind of curious about when people are actually signing up, maybe they all went online the night after the open house, not the night of your school night. When you think about this, they could have applied, and they don't have to show up to a meeting or anything to pay and fill out the paperwork and join your pack. And of course, like I said, you've got the clock that doesn't expire. You can then short out, so my actions would be everything. You can also filter this by youth and adults. Here is another example of a name. So you can select the name of applicant and open the record to view the information and take action on that application. So in this case, we've got Lenny. If we make sure this is still the same person, so it's not, but we've got this other person. When you open the application, you'll see the applications that you have available in the blue ribbon, the blue buttons. So you can accept the application, reassign the application to district, so the district can find another unit for that applicant, return the application to the applicant because you want additional information, or you can recommend this person not be accepted in the scouting. So think about this maybe as an adult. Again, adult, maybe youth as well, you're rejecting their membership in your unit. We'll go over each of these in action in a little more detail. First, let's click on the review the application. So we've clicked on review the application. You have a summary information that's visible to you. For a youth, it will show you the basic information on the application. For an adult, it will show you the information you need to understand this applicant's background. As you scroll down, you'll see the record locator for this applicant and their payment information. But you might want to look more closely at the information an applicant has provided. To do this, you would select Review Application. Big button says Review Application. Sorry. So after you've reviewed the application, you know you want this youth in your unit, you can press the Accept button, and they'll move to completed status. If they've paid by credit card, and they'll be on your membership roster in My.Scouting install. So everything will be correct and entered. They'll receive a welcome email from the, and if your unit has elected to do so, they'll also receive an auto-generated welcome email in your unit's message. So again, in the unit manager button, you'll see customize your message, and you can follow that. If the applicant is selected to pay by cash or check, if you have that as an option, you will move to a pending payment status. So that, accept. I believe after you hit accept, it will ask you, because they will show they haven't paid, it'll ask you to do a pending, it'll just auto go into a pending payment because there's no payment already entered for.
So if you do press accept and they've paid and they get that welcome message, does it automatically generate a BSA identification
Correct.
membership number?
Yes.
So you can follow them along and get them moving then right away on training.
A matter of fact, yes. They could, not an adult, maybe an adult if you have the right person in the room.
Right.
So in theory, a youth or parent could come in on a school night. They could, and there are PACs who did this and say they'll never do it any other way again. They set up like a bank of laptops, and they have a volunteer sitting on the other side of it, and they say, fill out the online application, because who likes to try and decipher the reading? So they fill out the online application. They say it's whatever, it always does the prorated amounts. So it'll say, great, this is how much it costs to join Scouts tonight. They can put it on their credit card right then and there. And if they've done it with their credit card, and again, this is what they're doing, you do it with the credit card, you could have Mr. Cubmaster at the end of the table in the system and approving the application, sitting next to a printer and printing the membership card that night. So kids can actually be walking out of their Join Scouting night with the membership application, membership card, ready to go. They've got a welcome email already in their inbox. They are officially members of your unit. It can be that quick. Adults take a little bit longer because you have to have your charter rep present there. But I guess if you had a charter rep sitting next to it, and again, they paid by credit card, and they're approving that application, it could also be done that same night.
Now, this is gonna go
Oh,
above
but they
probably
couldn't, they
everybody's
wouldn't have
head
done
here.
their right T training.
That is why we're not accepting the adult application
Yeah.
right now.
Right.
So how's that work with youth that are considered adults, say in the crew application? So let's say we've got,
Right now,
Camp
we will
members,
not be able
we
to
can't do
select.
that,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
So if you had a new venturer who joined a crew and he's 18 years old or she's 18 years old, they're gonna have to fill out a paper application.
Okay.
Yes. If the applicant selected to pay by cash, you'll move to pending status when you hit the accept.
Okay.
The unit should collect a copy of the receipt that the applicant was emailed along with the amount owed as stated on the receipt. So you can see, I think somewhere, maybe it's coming up on the next page, but you'll see a little receipt that they joined. This is the amount that's to be turned into the council with the application so that we can mark the application as paid. If you just send us $40, we don't know who these people are for. So we want to make sure that the applications accompany the actual paperwork. Still, the nice part about that, even if they did that, is that if there's any data entry mistakes or anything on that, it's on the unit leader. We didn't have to decipher, or that parent. We didn't have to decipher any handwriting or anything like that. We know that. But hopefully that cuts down on just, again, one extra layer of being able to get those correct. So when you select accept on an adult application, I'm going to go ahead and share this even though we're not correct, because I indicated before. A screen will appear for the committee chair or the charter org rep, depending on how your unit has selected it in that organization manager, so that you can select the adult position for that in that unit. Once the position is selected and saved, the charter org representative can complete the acceptance of the adult application. On any of the youth or adults, if you select reassign, you'll be asked to give a reason that you're not accepting this youth or adult in your unit. Drop-down list, the applicant will then be forwarded to the district for one of the district key three, so your district chair, district commissioner, or scouting professional, to reassign to another unit. If you look in the youth or adult status tab, you'll see the application in pending reassigned status until someone from the district takes action. So it'll still show up in your pending. So you can actually see, wow, somebody from the district still hasn't looked at that if it's been a couple days. And follow up on that if you're wondering. If for some reason you choose to do not accept, this means that you're saying they should not be accepted into any scouting unit. Okay, so you'll be asked to confirm this selection to make sure, and you should not give your reason on this screen at all. If the council has questions, we'll contact you. Explanation of why you denied membership to this person. So sometimes the unit might want a little more information, as I indicated before, from the applicant. So there's a way to return the application and write a short message explaining the additional information you need from the applicant. This might come up more for an adult application that's maybe marked yes or something on one of the questions and you're kind of wanting some additional information. All right, if you do not hear back from the applicant, you may want to follow by other means to ensure the application is processed within that 30-day time period. Okay? If you're accepting an adult and they answered yes to any of the screening questions, so these are the questions like, have you ever been arrested? You will see that before you can even accept this person, the CUR will have to add a comment in the space provided, explaining the reason for their accepting. And after you've entered your comments and pressed return, you'll see the comment added in the notes section. This will automatically also be flashed to the council because we have to go in and approve anybody who marks this as well. But your comments do help us in that looking list. So finally, I want to make sure to point out scouting.org/online registration. There are a lot of videos. There's like I said before, a 45-page book with essentially this PowerPoint and lots of notes, ready to go, step-by-step instructions. There is a whole bunch of other resources. One of those in the bottom right-hand corner is your appropriate style units checklist. This is just a quick checklist to make sure that you've got your site, your Be a Scout site set up, you've got your roles all taken care of, and you're ready to go on getting people registered. So with that, we're going to go ahead and answer any of the questions that I ran through really quick. So